turn us our live link. I just turned our live link on, so apologies. So people who just joining us on the on the airwaves of Inspire FM, i.e., via YouTube channel or Facebook channel, a good evening to all of you as well. So joining me today is Dr. Talib Abubacker, and we are talking. We're about to start to talk about preventing and reversing illness. Yes, the topic for today is preventing and reversing illness. So, Doc, before we start, as you know, our one of the common theme is to introduce yourself. So, can I ask you to give a quick introduction to our listeners and viewers, please?
Sure. I'm Talib Abubacker, GP from Bell House Medical Centre in Luton. I've been here for some time, right in the middle of Bury Park.
Mm-hmm. So, Doc, one of the things which people always ask, and I presume when they come to you, they always ask, can we able to prevent an illness or reverse an illness? What is your take on that? Can we able to do something like that, preventing disease or reversing it?
Well, as I say, prevention is always better than cure. So most people do know a little bit about prevention, but actually trying to do something about it is a lot harder than reality allows you to. So, for example, even myself, I've got an addiction for chocolate, and the weight's going up through lockdown, and you try hard to cut down on chocolate. But I know both medically and even through common sense that I shouldn't be eating too much chocolate. So I've done quite well, but that's prevention in terms of knowing that I have to eat healthily. But lots of conditions can be prevented, So we talked last week about smoking and the risk of lung cancer, for example. 75% of lung cancer is caused by smoking. So if you don't smoke, you reduce that risk by 75%. So that's prevention. What a lot of people don't ask me about, though, is reversing illness. Can you reverse illness? They talk about, can you help me with my pain? Can you get rid of my pain? But really, they don't really think about actually what caused the pain and what can I do to prevent it? And then what can I do to reverse the pain and make sure it doesn't get worse? Or I've got diabetes, for example. Can I reverse diabetes? I've got joint pains or eczema's flared up. Are there things that I can do to actually stop it progressing or start to reverse it? So I always think of reversing like putting your car in handbrakes on to stop it going too fast forward, or put it in reverse and see if you can actually take some of the symptoms away. And I think if people start thinking like that, you'll start to get a lot of people fitter and better than what they are currently. And I'm sure we'll touch as the program goes on the sort of things that we're doing to make our health worse.
Indeed. And on that note, I'd like to introduce our listeners as well. So, listeners, if you have any questions or queries regarding our topic tonight, please do get in touch with us by either sending a text message or WhatsApp on 07779481822. I repeat, 07794811822. Or you can still send your messages through our Facebook platform or YouTube platform. We can still see you and hear you. We can still listen or read your messages and can able to reply you back on that topic. And the topic which we are discussing today is preventing or reversing an illness. And as Doctor was saying earlier, as Dr. Talib Abubacker was saying earlier, that most people do not concentrate on reversing illness. So, Doc, when we talk about reversing illness, what are the certain diseases we are going up to? Why those diseases are still there if we can somehow reverse the illness?
Well, one of the illnesses that we all have and suffer from is aging. You can see it as an illness from the day you're born. We're all dying, and so none of us will live forever. So that means our body is degenerating as we get older. And once you pass 25, 30, it speeds up. So the question then is, well, can we slow it down? Well, I've got patients who are 100, for example. I've got a lady who's going to turn 104 soon. But
Hmm.
when you see her, she doesn't look 100. So somehow, something she's done, something she's doing is actually slowed her down. Some of it will be genetics, but a lot of it will be the environment that she chooses to live in. So, what's her mindset like? What's her outlook in life like? What does she eat? Was she doing a lot of exercise in her youth? So something she's done has given her a foundation to live to 103 and still
Hmm.
be independent, living on her own, doing her own things. And these are the things that lots of research projects have looked at, and hopefully we'll cover that in terms of the simple things that we can do. A lot of the things that I suspect we're going to touch on today is covered in a fantastic book, and I think certainly where I learned a lot of my stuff about this was a book called The Four Pillar Plan by a guy called Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. He's a GP in Manchester, or just outside Manchester. And the book, I recommend it to all my patients because it really does explain his four pillars. And we're all used to pillars in Islam, but his four pillars are diet, exercise, mental well-being, and sleep. And
Hmm.
if you can get those four in order, you'll go a long way of actually staying as healthy as you can. Now, we can expand those. We can add in community. We can talk about social well-being and things like that, being amongst people. And lockdown has brought out a lot of that in terms of social isolation affecting your health, for example.
Hmm.
But there's clues out there in nature and on what's happened on different people. Some of my 50-year-olds look 104, yet my 104-year-old looks 50. So what is it that they're doing different? And if you pick up those clues, you can make changes to your own well-being.
Hmm.
And the other
So.
thing, I've got patients with cancers. I've got one who is looking forward to spending time with their family, looking forward to doing things, eating healthy, doing some exercise, um, having some purpose to their life compared to someone who's waiting for the next x-ray or results and feel that they can't do anything. Well, guess which one, if you have to balance them up, guess which one seems to do better or seem to survive longer or seem to have less of a severity of the illness? It's the one who's got purpose. It's the one who's actively doing something rather than waiting for things to happen.
Mhm. So it all depends on. It seems like it's all depend on our mindset. So if we have a proper mindset, if as people sometimes used to say, if you put your mind together, you can achieve anything. So is that the theory behind the whole reversing or psychological technique of reversing your illness?
I think mindset has an aspect to it. The mindset is your mindset helps you do the healthy things. As I said right at the start, sometimes bad luck happens. We don't know why it happens.
Hmm.
Why do children get ill? Why does someone who's super fit, super healthy still get ill? That we can't answer that question. In the same way, I think I explained last week, I could, and I'm sure I've said it on your show before. I could ride on the motorway, follow all the rules at 70 miles per hour,
Hmm.
follow everything to stay in the inside lane and be a really boring driver, but then still have an accident. I could have a puncture. There's no rhyme or reason for that. That just happens. But
Hmm.
what I do know is if I speed up, if I drink drive, or I'm driving 100 miles per hour and ignore all the lights and things, my chance of having an accident are much higher. And
Yep.
health is much the same. If you follow everything as best as you can, your risk is reduced, but it's never reduced to zero, but it's reduced. And if you can do all the right things that we'll touch on, then you
Hmm.
should find that your risk has reduced so that you live a more healthier, longer life.
Hmm. Right. Okay. Wow. By the way, we will have to take a short break, Doc, because it will be almost time for Maghrib namaz, and definitely spiritual aspect also does help a lot in many of these kind of when we talk about the psychological reasons and behavioral reason behind it. But yes, as I was saying that we are approaching very fastly towards the azan break. So when we come back from the break of azan, we will discuss more about how and what we can do in terms of other social economical ways of eating healthy or feeling well or sleep or even stress related issues as well. So please stay tuned. We will be right back after this very azan break.
AsSalamu alaikum. In Luton and its surrounding areas, it is now time for Salatul Maghrib.
लुटन और इसके मज़ाफ़ात में नमाज मगरिब का वक्त हुआ चाहता है.
This azan has been sponsored by Ideal Properties. Contact us on 01582 72 1110 or log on to www.idealpropertiesltd.co.uk.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So, welcome back to the Health and Fitness Show. I'm Fahad Matin, your host for today. And today we are talking about preventing and reversing illness. And alhamdulillah, this was a very good azan break because sometimes these kind of breaks does help a lot to the mindset. And before we went on that azan break, I was saying that sometimes spiritually help a lot as well. Isn't it, Doc?
Oh, definitely. I think having faith in something really helps people. It helps yourself, it helps your family, it gives you some purpose, it gives you focus. So all of these things are really important.
So when we talking about people who have a positive mindset can able to achieve a bit more, what kind of a positive mindset we are talking about? Do we talking about other social economical pressures as well, or is it just eating healthy and keeping fit and exercising well? Can that be enough?
I think, I mean, there's positive mindset, but as we said, bad things happen, and then it doesn't matter how positive you are, but if bad things happen, you're going to feel down, and then you're going to feel unhappy and sad and anxious about certain things. Certainly, if you're given bad news, but the trick is not to let that stop you doing the things that might help you improve things. So when we talk about mindset, it's about not just accepting a label and saying, well, that's my label, there's nothing more I can do, I just have to wait for the hospital appointment or this. What we're hoping to do is show people that there is quite a lot that they can do to try and improve their illness in terms of what they eat, in terms of exercise, in terms of social well-being, spiritual well-being, whatever it might be. There's certain things that you can do to try and improve yourself. What I sometimes find when people get diagnosed with a chronic disease, whatever it might be, whether it's diabetes, heart attack, or stroke, is they feel that's it, that's my label, and that's what I'm going to stick with. and then they don't do anything or try a little bit, but then find it hard, so they stop. Whereas what we want them to do is always have a little bit of purpose, keep trying, keep doing things, get guidance from your doctors, get guidance from your family and friends, and then see what improvements can be made. Because having hope is very important.
Okay, so having hope is very important, but how can we keep having hope? And on that note, I must say, wow, the time has passed really, really quickly. We are just about to go for a commercial break. So when we come back from the break, we will. Oh, sorry, I thought it's about time for the break. I'm losing the plot. I was just literally looking at the wrong timings. My mistake. And that shows sometimes awareness also help a lot. So in terms of awareness, and when we talk about the stress, how much stress normally affect a person's mindset, and especially the disease management?
Well, if we look at stress, for example, we live in a very privileged society at the moment. Everything's easy for us. Even if we look back 20, 30 years, life was harder in some sense. But now, I can sit here and get information on my phone. I can speak to anyone in the world on my phone. I don't even have to move from my chair. And when lockdown's over, I can book my holidays. I can book flights. I can sort out lots of things just sat here, which, when I was a child, if I had to phone international, I had to run to the local phone box, wait for the operator to connect to me and send a telegram. So life's so much easier, but research has shown that we're one of the unhappiest generations ever. And in a way, we're not quite sure why that is. Some suggestion is that we've just got too much information coming, and our brain just doesn't have the facility to cope with all that information. So we're living in a very progressive, fast-moving, paced world. When what we're designed to do is actually be like caveman. We're supposed to be waking up when the sun goes up, hunt, farm, feed our kids, whatever, rest, have a nap in the afternoon, do a bit more work, sun goes down, you have your dinner and you go to sleep. Well, most of us don't do that. Most of us are on the go 24 hours a day. My phone's just been buzzing, and straight away I've been distracted. That puts little tiny stresses on you, which then you add them all up, builds up, which then becomes inflammatory. So what I mean by inflammatory is if you were being chased by a lion, you need to be stressed. There's no point being the happiest person in the world and there's a lion chasing you. That's not how your body works. So your body is designed to protect you and save your life. So it will release adrenaline, it will release your stress hormones and get your body ready to run. Your heartbeat goes fast, your blood pressure goes up, your immune system gets ready for any injuries and protect against any infections or anything like that. So your body gets super ready to protect you. Now, once you've escaped the lion, then everything should settle down and everything comes back down. So it's a very efficient way of self-protection. But unfortunately, if that lion was chasing you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you don't get rest, and your adrenaline's flowing and flowing and flowing, your stress hormones are flowing and flowing and flowing, what then happens is your body starts to tire and everything starts to break down. Your immune system gets tired, your cortisol starts to affect other cells and things stop working efficiently. Your immune system gets whacked out, and then before you know it, you start to get ill. Well, modern lifestyles now is the equivalent of a lion 24/7. We're constantly alert. We're constantly having things in our face, watching news, I mean, how many of us are going to bed with our phones? How many of us are watching Netflix or something on our iPads? 24-hour news, everything's just constant. Before someone had to contact me, they'd have to write me a letter and it'd take about 3 or 4 days before I would get it and take 3 or 4 days to reply back. Now it's instantaneous, and you get emails with 10, 20 files that you have to read. We're on WhatsApp, we're on social media, TikTok, everything, and everything's just constant. So our brains are building up these stresses and not being able to switch off, and we're not designed for that. And that's why inflammatory conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, eczema, asthma, they've linked heart disease and strokes with inflammation. All of these are going up. Diabetes is now seen to have some inflammatory aspects to it. Joint pains, all of these conditions are going up because we're living in a very inflammatory based society. And then if we look at not just how we work and how we live our lives, we're also looking at what we're eating. Everything is now processed. Everything has artificial coloring, artificial preservatives and things like that. And again, they've shown that that causes inflammation. And inflammation damages your blood vessels, which increases your risk of different diseases. So, certainly what Dr. Chatterjee says in his book is that we need to, accept that we're living in a very high inflammatory stress type of society, and what can we do to actually slow that down. It's almost like going back to being a caveman again. What do cavemen do? What did they do? And we've got examples of that when we look at tribesmen in Papua New Guinea, for example, who haven't been exposed to Western life. Their levels of depression and stress is much lower than ours. Their death rates of things like heart disease and strokes and cancers are much lower than ours. They die of infectious diseases because of the environment they live in. But they don't seem to get some of the conditions that we get.
Indeed. And wow, on that note, I must say, wow, the time has passed really quickly, and this is now actual time for our commercial break. So when we come back from the break, I would like to ask you a bit more about going slightly in depth of how we can keep ourselves in line and in check. So stay tuned. We will be right back after these very short messages.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
Hi, my name's Abda Khan. I'm a writer and a lawyer, and I want you to keep listening to Inspire FM.
अगर आप वजन घटाना चाहते हैं तो सब कुछ सही करना नहीं, शुरुआत करना जरूरी है। सेहतमंद बदलाव छोटे छोटे बदलावों से शुरू होते हैं और आपको भीतर और बाहर से बेहतर महसूस करने में मदद करते हैं, ताकि आप अधिक स्वस्थ बने और बीमारियों से अधिक मजबूती से लड़ सके। वजन घटाने में आपकी मदद करने के लिए NHS के पास बहुत सारे सुझाव हैं। खोजिए बेटर हेल्थ। आइए ऐसा करें।
Biscot Pharmacy, your one-stop health and beauty pharmacy in Luton, stockist of over 8,000 health and beauty products. At Biscot Pharmacy, we offer a range of services, including health advice and repeat prescriptions for collection and delivery to your home. We also offer a Hajj and Umrah vaccination. Come in and see us and ask about our stop smoking service. We're open 7 days a week till late, including bank holidays. Biscot Pharmacy, 157A Biscot Road, Luton. Call 457709.
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton? For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice, and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large, and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
At Applications are now open for our September 21 reception class at King's House Independent School in Luton. It's where our dedicated and caring staff nurture young children in small classes, helping them to get the best start in life. And with our King's House School Early Learning Programme, we teach reading, writing and numeracy through a fun and enjoyable curriculum, whilst developing self-confidence and other talents too. If you'd like to apply for a place for your child, call Luton 491430 or click on kingshouseschool.co.uk.
हर बार साबुन का इस्तेमाल, हर टैप का खुलना, घर पहुंचते ही 20 सेकंड के अंदर अंदर हाथ धोना, अपने बैग में सैनिटाइजर रखना, हर बार कोई पैकेज उठाने पर या शॉप के अंदर जाने पर। ऐसे लोग जो अपने हाथ साफ रख रहे हैं, वो कोविड-19 को फैलने से रोकने में मदद कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि इसे कोई भी कैच कर सकता है और कोई भी फैला सकता है। इन चीजों से फर्क पड़ता है। आइए ऐसा करते रहें। घर रहिए, NHS को तहफ्फुज़ दीजिए, जिंदगियां बचाइए।
खून जमा देने वाली सर्दी, शदीद बर्फबारी और तूफानी बारिशों के बाद सैलाब की सूरत हाल। मुल्क शाम की सर्दियां जानलेवा हैं। शाम के जरूरतमंदों को खुराक, गर्म कपड़े और कंबल पहुंचाने में SKT की मदद कीजिए। आपके सिर्फ 20 पाउंड बेआसरा खानदानों के लिए बड़ा आसरा बन सकते हैं। कोरोना की मौलिक वबा और सर्द मौसम में अपने भाइयों को मुश्किलात से निकालने के लिए SKT वेलफेयर की मदद करें। विजिट करें sktvwelfare.org या 0300 302 0786 पर कॉल करें।
अस्सलामु अलैकुम। बिस्मिल्लाह। قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من رغب عن سنتي فليس مني, that whoever abandons my sunnah is not from me.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 6:30.
Any health advice given, whether general, diet, physical or spiritual, is general only and must be verified by your doctor. If you need medical advice, please consult a doctor.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another exciting and educating edition of the Health and Fitness Show. I'm your host Fahad Matin for today's show, and I hope and pray that all of us are fit and healthy by the grace of Almighty Allah. So far we are talking about and today's topic we are talking about preventing and reversing illness with our guest, our local GP, Dr. Talib Abubacker. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
This program is broadcasting live from the platform Inspire FM today on 18th of March 2021, and casting its positive vibes to all our lovely people in Luton and the surrounding areas of Luton, like Dunstable, Harpen, Bedford, and definitely going through the Inspire FM airwaves and the platforms to via website and app, and also via video link through Facebook Live and YouTube Live link of Inspire FM. So good evening and welcome back. Before we went on break, we were talking about how we can revert some disease, and Dr. Abubacker was giving a very nice example, very genuine example in terms of how we are living in an inflammatory society where unfortunately we are on a constant go, and which all automatically contributing towards unnecessary illnesses, and definitely our bodies are being designed as a caveman rather than an on-the-go person. So Doc, sorry I have disturbed you and I've stopped you halfway through when you were in the go. Unfortunately we have to stop for the break as well, but if I ask you to continue from where you were, it will be brilliant. So we were talking about the caveman. You were giving us the example of a caveman style, and because of that, we are now getting more disease like diabetes, respiratory, and cardiology, and so forth.
So if I give you the example of diabetes, for example, our body is designed to have a certain number of calories. For most men, it's about 2,000 calories. For women, it's 1,800 calories. To do your normal day-to-day, make your brain work, which takes a lot of energy, your heart work, your immune system, your digestive system takes a lot of energy. To break down food takes a lot of energy. But you need that energy. But if you take more energy than you need, where does that energy go? So if you're eating more high calorie than your 2000 calories, where does that go? And what your body does is it's used to, because don't forget it's a caveman, it's thinking, well, I can't afford to let this go because I don't know when I'm next going to be fed. So it'll store it, and it stores it in a place. It uses blocks called glycogen, which is a very healthy way of storage, and that's stored in the liver and things. But that's only a small storage space. But we keep giving it more things to store. So then it says, hang on a minute, where do I put this? This guy's not moving. He's not using his muscles to burn it. So muscles like putting it in the fire. It's not burning. So I better store this. I've used up all my glycogen stores. Now I'm going to make fat and cholesterol and things like that. So that then goes around your heart, around your tummy. You know, most of us have got a little bit of belly that needs to be got rid of. But, you know, puts it around major organs, particularly for Asians. The Caucasians seem to put it on their arms and legs first, and then they put it on into the what we call visceral fat inside our organs. Now, the fat, what that does, the cholesterol, it starts to clog up your arteries, so that starts to narrow, and you need your arteries to supply blood elsewhere. But also, what it does is it blocks the receptor for your insulin. What insulin is like a key that opens the door to the cells to get the sugar in. And if that's blocked by fat and cholesterol, you get insulin resistance. So the insulin you have doesn't work. So your blood sugar starts to go up, which then damages the blood vessels even more. And then the insulin your pancreas produces more insulin to try and make the doors open. So it's pounding away. So the pancreas starts to give up and starts to make less insulin. Your blood pressure goes up because your insulin's high. That damages the blood vessels even more. Then your blood vessels become thin and friable, so it starts to break down. You start to get leaks, or it blocks with the cholesterol and the sugar. So you get a full circle. So what happens is you're having too much calories in whichever way. Obviously, the worse the calories are, like fatty and sugary things, which then blocks your insulin receptors, which makes your insulin goes up, and before you know it, you've got diabetes. The good news is if you start reversing that, i.e. reduce your calories and start exercising, it can start to unblock some of those insulin receptors, and the insulin you've got starts to work better. That's what I mean by reversing it. So we've got plenty of patients who've gone on good diets. They've stopped their processed food. They've stopped eating rice, for example. Rice, people are surprised when I keep saying rice, but a plate of rice is 300 calories. You've got to walk 3 miles to burn that off. Yeah.
Wow, 3 miles.
And most of us, and I'm not averse to rice myself, but we eat it late at night, about 8 o'clock at night. Our body's got no chance of burning it off. So guess what? He said, I'm going to store it. Well, that's 300 calories. When are you going to burn that off? You're not, because you're going to do the same the next day and the next day and the next day, and things start to build up. And you can see why diabetes is going up. If you have the same Asian guy in a farm in Pakistan, India, whatever, 2 generations ago, they'd be eating similar but far less because they're working hard on the field. It's a very physical job. They walk everywhere. They're eating everything natural, so it's low calories, but they eat what they need to do their work. Their risk of diabetes is like 1%. You take that same person, that generation, 2 generations later in a Western country where food is easily accessible, lots of high calories, lots of processed food, no physical activity whatsoever. We drive everywhere. We live in our little boxes. And our rates of diabetes are nearly 9-10%. You know, in Luton, diabetes is massive.
Yeah.
And then you get all the side effects of diabetes because people aren't controlling it: heart disease, strokes, renal transplants, blindness, and things like that. The good news is, even if you get labeled diabetic, if you start eating properly, eating healthy, lots of vegetables, for example, lots of green. The more colorful, natural food you've got, the better. They undo all the damage. And what then happens is it starts to reverse. The blood vessels start to get more healthy. The insulin resistance starts to go, and your insulin works far better, and things start to reverse.
Well, luckily we are going towards Ramadan, so hopefully we will be eating slightly sensibly. Well, when I say slightly sensibly, sometimes you end up putting on weight in the month of Ramadan, isn't it true, sir?
I don't. It always brings a little smile to my face when someone after 4 weeks of fasting is actually heavier than they were before fasting. So it tells me that we're doing it the wrong way around. We're doing it for the wrong reasons. I was always taught when I was younger, the reason we fast is, one, to remind ourselves what poor people have to go through on a day-to-day basis. And we're struggling for 30 days, yet these guys have to do it every day of their life. And two, it gives you an opportunity to put the handbrakes onto this busy life and actually remember God and pray to the Almighty. So they're the two reasons. I would add the third now with the Western life, is it gives us a handbrake on to reassess where we are, to really look around and think, actually, am I relaxing? Am I switching off? 5 daily prayers for most people, it is a time of meditation. You're taking time off where your phone is off, no one's contacting you, you're just concentrating on what you need to do. Well, the religion itself puts those breaks in for us, but most of us do quickly and off we go. If we want to get to the next email or the next thing or whatever. And what fasting allows you to do is reflect. And, if you look at all the hadiths and things about fasting, the food is very, very simple. Break your fast with water and dates. It's not pakora and samosa and wait for your biryani afterwards. And the number of biryanis I used to eat when we used to break fast was like... that's why we put weight on, is because we have these heavy meals and then we go to sleep, and just in case we don't wake up for the morning, we eat another one as well, just to be sure. And that's why people put weight on. But those who do it properly, you see, they lose weight, they get healthy, they use the opportunity to do healthy things like stop smoking, they go for walks, and fasting has so many benefits. So many of the major religions of the world do fast. It's not just Muslims. Fasting is a big thing. There was an experiment, I think it was mice, I can't remember, it was someone in America, where they got mice and they let the mouse eat whatever it wanted, whenever it wanted, 24 hours a day, eat all the rubbish and whatever it wanted. And after a few months, they monitored that mouse and they looked at its heart disease rates, its cholesterol, and its narrowing of its arteries, and it was very bad. Then they got the same mouse and only allowed it a 12-hour window of eating. And what they found, by just limiting the food for 12 hours, so it would open up for 12 hours and then it would close, they were much healthier mice. The ideal was 8 hours. So they found that if you just limited food for 8 hours, these mice, had more energy, could do more things, but their general health parameters were much better. So that's what they based this intermittent fasting on. And that's been shown to show results. And that's even without looking at healthy eating. That's just purely by doing that. So for example, if you've got acidity, heartburn and things like that, if you're constantly picking, constantly snacking, your digestive system thinks that you're having a big meal, so it releases all the chemicals, the peptides and the acids and everything to dissolve all of this stuff. Well, you can imagine that's churning away. A, it takes a lot of energy, and B, it's constantly on the go. It's damaging things. So if you think of a football pitch, if you constantly play football 24 hours a day on that pitch, you're going to run out of grass. So all the protective layers disappear. Whereas if you fast, it allows that to grow back. So it allows the grass to grow back. So what they're saying is, try and eat between a 12-hour period on normal days, and then with the fasting, you stick to the fasting hours, and you're going to benefit. And they've shown all sorts of things, improving your energy levels, improving your cognition, thinking, improving your digestive system, and ultimately improving heart disease and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of Ramadan, because Ramadan is on the verge, and inshallah, hopefully, it will be starting in about 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time. So, when we talk about Ramadan and long-term condition diseases like diabetes, which sometimes prevent us to fast, what can we do?
Well, I'm not a scholar, so I can't tell you what you should do. If you're not sure, you speak to your scholars and find out what you can do in terms of, but you know, the religion's a beautiful religion. It tells you that if you're ill, you don't fast, you make it up at another day. And if you can't make it up in another day, you pay the same amount of money, or you feed the poor with that food. Well, how beautiful is that?
Yes, definitely.
So
but if somebody wants to keep the fast, do they need to make certain changes to the, or do they need to come and see your GP?
My understanding is if it's going to make you ill, you shouldn't be fasting. That's very, you know, I'm not a scholar, but that's my understanding. That if you're ill and fasting is actually going to make you worse, you shouldn't be fasting. So people on dialysis and things like that shouldn't be fasting. Diabetes is one of those ones where there's been a lot of studies, and there's certain things. If you're on just tablets, there are ways. You need to speak to your doctor about ways of doing that. And there's lots of stuff on the internet and things about which tablets you don't take in the morning, which tablets you can take in the evening, maybe half a dose in the morning, and maybe. But you need, you know, there'll be instructions on that people would have been given. But if you're on insulin, that's a different matter. It depends on what kind of insulin you're on. And there's different types of insulin. If you're on insulin 3 times a day, it is much harder to stay safe and healthy. And I would suggest that you wouldn't fast. If you're diabetic and got renal disease, again, I would strongly advise not to fast, because if you get dehydrated, you're putting a lot of strain on that kidney, which is already damaged from long-term diabetes. Then, you know, your risk of doing harm is much greater. And my understanding is the religion says that you shouldn't do any harm.
And
so
does this same?
You do need to speak to the experts about that.
Yeah, and does it same apply to your heart conditions and your asthma, and if you have asthma or something like that?
Yeah, less so with asthma. But you know, if you're having an asthma attack, break your fast.
Yeah.
Now, some people say an inhaler is not ingesting. Some people say it is. I will suggest people make their own decisions up about that. You know, there's only one God, and my God, I think, is quite forgiving. Then, you know, if you take an inhaler but you carry on with your fast, is it broken or not? I don't know. But if you go and feed another poor person, you've done good out of it. But what you shouldn't do is not take your inhalers if you're having an asthma attack. You need to take the inhalers, because if you're doing more harm, then my understanding is that you shouldn't be fasting. So things a bit easier, because you can fast while you've got asthma. It's the ones who are on tablets or heart disease where your kidneys are under pressure, your heart's under pressure, and then if you get dehydrated, it knocks everything out of sync. So again, if you've got mild heart disease and things like that, then fasting's not a problem. But if you feel unwell, you need to be aware of what to look at. You know, if you're getting chest pain, you need to take your medication. And you need to make sure that you wake up and have a breakfast and have fluids right at the start, so that you're not just sleeping through and then waiting until iftar to break your fast.
In terms of the genetics and family history, how much that contributes towards having a disease, and how, if those things are there, if you have inherited, can we still able to reverse diseases?
Yeah, so yeah, that's an interesting question. It's, you know, because a lot of people say, well, it's in my genetics, my family, my dad had heart attack, my dad had diabetes, or my uncle had diabetes, or my uncle's had breast cancer. Sorry, my aunt has had breast cancer, and so I'm likely to catch it. Genetics plays a big part. There's no doubt. Okay, so what genetics does is puts your risk at a higher risk. And someone described it very nicely to me. It's like a gun. You're an empty gun, and you can keep firing. You know, nothing's going to happen. But what genetics does is fills you up with a bullet that might, one of your barrels has got a bullet that might do you harm. But if you keep pressing that trigger, then the chance of that bullet coming out is going to be higher. The trigger is bad health. The trigger is not eating healthy, eating too much processed food, drinking too much, or smoking too much, or not exercising, being overweight. That's your trigger. If you've got a bullet in a gun and you don't press that trigger, that's not going to go off. So genetics is a bit like that. You could be very unlucky, like we said right at the start, that's just the way it is. That's in God's hands. We can't do much about it. But if God's given you the power to make differences, so you can slow that process down. So what I always say to people, if you're heading towards a wall, which is an illness or death or whatever, you want to put the brakes on and slow it down by doing all the right things. If you do the wrong things, you're putting your foot on the pedal and speeding things up. We as doctors and healthcare workers are trying to put the brakes on by controlling your blood pressure, controlling your sugars, trying our utmost with our medication and advice. We're trying to put the brakes on. If you're doing the opposite by pressing the pedal and putting the speed on, accelerator on, I'm not going to lose. You know, it's no good saying to me your tablets aren't working or this if you're putting your foot down. So, you know, I tell people to take the foot off, stop smoking, start going for walks, look after your health, look after your mental health, use your family energy and get them all to do it. Do it as a group. We're trying to get involved. 2 years ago, before lockdown, the Luton Lions did a massive thing of 20 of us did the London Marathon. Most of us, I'd run it before, but most of the others hadn't run before, and they showed that if you put a goal in and you put it on, we raised over £90,000 for children with cancer. 20 people did running, and because of those 20 people, others saw it, and Love Luton 10K half marathon, we had over 200 people who started running. Wow. And we're planning to do something similar this year with over 50-year-olds to try and get them fit and healthy, to start thinking about the things that we've talked about. Is just by walking, and hopefully what we're trying to do, inshallah, is with the park run and things coming up, opening up again, get people to do more park run, and with Love Luton in October to get as many people as we can to run the 10K, if not the half marathon. For people who've never done it before. So we're going to be pushing with our GP practices, with the local communities, to push people to say, look, why don't you think about your health?
Definitely. In that, I must say definitely, because sometimes all we have to do is that make the first move in order to start taking control of our lives and our health. And once we made that first move, the journeys become much easier and much simpler.
Absolutely, yeah. It's that first move. Thinking about it doesn't help. It's not positive thinking. If I see a weed in the garden, I can positive think till the cows come home. That weed's not going to move. Actually, pull it out. So it's about doing, and the beauty of doing is no matter how negative you're thinking, if you keep doing, eventually it keeps going. It becomes a habit. And then there's no thinking then. So your negative thoughts can't talk you out of it because you're doing it anyway. So, you know, just getting up and going for a walk. We're very fortunate in Luton. We've got Wardown Park, you've got Stockwood Park, you've got various smaller parks around the town, and then you've got Warden Hills, Dunstable Downs, lots of amazing places where you can get into nature. And nature's wonderful because, and there's lots of studies suggesting it improves your breathing, it improves your mental well-being, it improves your general health, just walking in nature, listening to birds, watching trees, watching leaves and things like that, which is,
Which is amazing, which is definitely amazing. Wow, the time has passed really, really quickly. We just have approx 3 minutes remaining to end our show. So, sir, as usual, I always ask a positive message. So, what will be the positive message you like to give to our listeners so we all start looking after our health?
Breathe. We need oxygen. Drink plenty of water. Yeah, keep hydrated is really important. Eat healthy. Exercise. Be social. Be nice to people, and people be nice back. Smile. Smiling helps. It uses up a lot more muscles than being frowning all the time. Spiritual, that's people's choices. I think that's really important to have some faith, and avoid or reduce your social media. I'm on social media all the time, but I've cut down. My phone and my tablet puts limits on me. And try at least 1 hour before you go to bed, switch off your IT.
That means your phone, your emails, every single thing, computers, iPad,
Be
TV.
a caveman for a night.
It's not easy. It's not easy to be a caveman, but hey ho, that's what we have to do in order to take control back of our life. Then we have to do that, and we have to make sure that we start looking after ourselves so it can prevent and reverse certain diseases in some aspect, shape, or form. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for joining us today. And I must say, you always inspire me. You always help me. So if I say quickly, 30 seconds, can you give me a quick 30-second exercise to reduce stress? What shall I do?
Stop IT at night. Reduce processed food. Be grateful. Wake up grateful. Just make a list of things that you're grateful for, and you'll be surprised how that reduces your stress.
Indeed.
Don't listen
Indeed.
to the news.
Indeed. On that note, I must say thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us such a lovely, lovely advice to look after ourselves and our health. Thank you so much, sir. So that's all for tonight, guys, and that was Dr. Abubacker have given us really nice, lovely advices to live our life healthy, well and fit, and how we can reverse our diseases definitely. So stay tuned. Keep listening to us and be with us all the way through, and keep listening to Inspire FM and Health and Fitness Show. Do remember us in your duas, and hopefully we will be back again next week. Same time, same place. Assalamu alaikum.